Football is one of the sports I never really cared about until I fully understood the magic of it. There is many talk today about records, prestige, and perfection, and one video really made me think about perfection in football. Sadly, to be perfect is no easy task, and not many teams have gotten to be perfect. But today, we're going to be talking about a single team. We will be talking about a group of teams. A better name for it would be a division. Divisions in football are quite interesting, as the teams in said groups are forced to meet each other twice and fight to be the leader and get a chance to meet in the Super Bowl. There are some interesting rules with how the seeds work in playoffs, but the main point when it comes to divisional records is to land at the top. Landing at the top means you skip a week, which means the team gets a week off to rest and relax, while the other teams have to brutally destroy each other just to see if they have a chance to continue. There are teams who have never made it to the Super Bowl, and teams who make it consistently. But what happens when every team in a division has won a Super Bowl at least once? But first, what is the Super Bowl? It's not a plate or a superhero. The creation of the Super Bowl came in the year 1966, becoming the main goal at the end of each season, and it didn't take long for one team of the. With all that, the following year, in 1971, the Cowboys had head coach Tom Landry and managed to end the season with an 11-3 record. In my opinion, this was a pretty good season. The losses weren't blowouts, and the streak after week 7 is outstanding. Then they got the NFC Championship from San Francisco 14-3. And finally, they met against the Miami Dolphins a year before the perfect season and gave them a devastating loss 24-3 in Super Bowl number 6. Seeing some parts from the game, it was a great showcase of the Cowboys. 6 years later, in 1977, the Cowboys were doing pretty well. The last 5 years have been good, but they never managed to win another Super Bowl. This year, it will be different. Tom Landry came back in head coach with a different roster of players. 1971 is out. Make way for the 1977 Cowboys. The 1977 Cowboys started the year with an 8-0 record, losing the next 2 games and winning the rest, finishing the season with a 12-2 record, an even better record than last time. Funnily enough, the last game was with Denver Broncos, a team that would come back to face the Cowboys later on. The Cowboys met the Bears in the divisional round, in a one-sided affair. Same could be said about the Vikings championship game. And lastly came the big brawl at the Super Bowl where the Cowboys faced the Broncos. And as you might know, the Cowboys won again, securing 2 Super Bowls for their franchise. Before we move on to the next team, I just want to share this game with Detroit, an outstanding win for the Cowboys. The Cowboys are looking pretty good right now, but it will take a while for us to see them again. 5 years later, 1982 was an interesting year. A 70-day long player strike took the 16-game schedule and changed it to a 9-game only. With this in mind, the Redskins winning 8-1 games make them look pretty competent. To give you an idea of how the season looked, it was like if the league took a break when just starting. And as you can clearly see, the only team the Redskins lost to were the Cowboys. But these Cowboys were not a threat compared to this year's Redskins squad. However, the Cowboys will meet the Redskins in the playoffs later on. This year, instead of there just being the divisional championship and finally the Super Bowl games, the league decided to do 2 rounds before the division championship. First came the Detroit Lions, who got beaten 31-7. Then on the second round arrived once again the Vikings, who got dealt 21-7. And finally the Cowboys came waiting to beat the divisional rivals. Soon, that dream came to a close when they lost 31 points to 7. It was time for the Redskins to prove their value, and if they wanted to succeed, they would have to beat the Dolphins. Last decade, the 72 Dolphins had beaten the Redskins, but this time it was time for the Redskins moment to write history on their own. And so they did. At the Rose Bowl, the Redskins entered with vengeance in their eyes. The Dolphins put up a tough fight, but ended up losing 27-17. A strike and an extra game were adversities the Redskins had to face, and with all that, they still came out in the end like Giants. Giants, that's a good name for a team. And what do you know, there is a team named like that, the New York Giants, and they were now ready for their moment in the glory. 1987 came, and the Giants weren't so powerful in their legacy. Their New York counterpart, the Jets, had already won a Super Bowl, and it was time for the Giants to prove themselves to the world. In their first game, they lost to the Cowboys. They managed to win the following 5 games, lost to the Seahawks, and finished the season winning every game, ending with a 14-2 season. During the divisional round, the Giants faced against the 49ers and delivered them an upset by more than 45 points, beating them 49-3. That wouldn't be the last final score they would post, because next game in the NFC Championship, they took out the Redskins by 17 points, while the Redskins couldn't score a single one. I should mention this quickly, but the guy in charge of the defense was none other than Bill Belichick, someone who will run into a couple of times later in the future. Lastly came the Super Bowl, and it was time to meet with our old friends the Broncos, who once again lost the Super Bowl this time, a 30-20 final score. The Giants became now the third team to have a Super Bowl, and now there's only one team with a bird and a mascot, as a mascot who hasn't won yet, and I'm not talking Arizona. The Eagles are a team now infamous for their fans and their playoff records. However, they aren't much of Super Bowl winners. I couldn't talk about the other wins like the 90s Cowboys dynasty, the '07 Giants clutch, or the three teams who were winners at this point, winning altogether back to back to back to back to back again. From 86 to 96, the NFC East seemed like the most terrifying division in the NFC, a titan with the three strongest teams in the league, always making it to the Super Bowl and usually winning. The decade was dominated purely by the NFC, but soon the tides turned like the ocean in the middle of the night. The next decade would see some of the strongest teams with some of the best players: the late 90s Broncos, the Ravens, the Steelers, and the 2000 Patriots. The year 2007, the Giants just beat the 18-0 New England Patriots. This is still regarded as one of the best Super Bowls in the history of sports. The odds were against them, and yet they did it. In 2011, the Giants did it again. The Cowboys and Redskins' golden age was long gone, but there was still one team left to prove its worth. Looking at the moon is like looking at the Super Bowl. Might seem close, but the work to get there is astronomically difficult. The Steelers reside in Pittsburgh. The Steelers have 6 Super Bowls to their name. Pittsburgh resides in Pennsylvania. Another city that resides in Pennsylvania is Philadelphia, and there is a team that resides there, the Philadelphia Eagles. And said team also happened to reside in the division we've been talking about, the NFC East. Up to this point, the team had made it before to the Super Bowl, but they were never able to finish the job. They once made it all the way in 1980, but lost 27-10. Then, in 2004, they went against the defending champions, the New England Patriots, and lost, only 3 points away from a tie. But the Eagles weren't going to let the Patriots have the last laugh. Time passed and passed, and the year of 2017 came rolling. Last year they were okay, but this time the Eagles had one objective in mind: to bring the city of Philadelphia the Lombardi Trophy. The 2017 Eagles had 3 losses, each with some of the most ferocious teams in the league: the Chiefs, the Seahawks, and our friends, the Cowboys. The Eagles and the Cowboys have always been rivals at heart. This year, the Eagles stay as the number 1 team in the whole conference, only tied with the Minnesota Vikings, a team that seems to be a constant with other teams' triumphs. After the wild card first came the Falcons, who put a close games against the Eagles. Then once again the Vikings showed up. However, they could brutally deserve a loss once again in the NFC Championship game. And once again the two teams face each other in the battlefield. The Patriots are back, and they are also hungry for more. Before we continue, I think we should quickly talk about the other side of the spectrum. This time, we want to talk about the Patriots. The Patriots were a team designed to go win. Last year they were the winners, in what is considered the best Super Bowl of all time. The Patriots came back from a 28-point lead by the Falcons. The Patriots had a history of killing birds, and the Eagles were looking awfully feathered. The Patriots had a pretty good season, only losing to the best teams, just like the Eagles, and in one occasion they even went to Mexico to play a game, in the Estadio Azteca. The Patriots were the best team in their conference, just like the Eagles, and finished the divisional round and the AFC Championship. And now, it was time to meet our feathered friends. It was time for the Eagles to meet Bill, Tom, and Rob, and take their back-to-back dream away. The Ash were in Philadelphia to finally finish the job. The game began, and both teams were able to kick a field goal. But soon, with 2.5 minutes left for the first quarter to end, Philadelphia scored a touchdown. However, after the touchdown, they failed to score the kick. Starting the second quarter, New England missed a field goal, and things were looking pretty good for Philly. But this team was no stranger to comeback. Running back LeGarrette Blount scored for Philly, making the game a 15-3. We had a field goal for New England, and the game was a 15-6 in the second quarter with 5 minutes left. However, with 2 minutes left, New England scored a touchdown with running back James White. Before the quarter ended, the Eagles managed to score a touchdown with a smart play. It was time for the third quarter. Things were looking pretty complicated, but Philadelphia was still dominating. It would all change in the third quarter. A 10-point lead is pretty. A 28-point lead is pretty good too. Starting the third quarter, New England scored. Then the Eagles came and scored too. And finally New England scored once again. The third quarter ended 29-26, a field goal away from tie, and Philadelphia was not going to have any of that again. At minute 20 and at minute 14, Philly scored a field goal, but soon the worst nightmare occurred. Tom got it to Rob, and Rob got a touchdown, giving the Patriots the advantage of 1 point. 3 minutes left. Things were looking good for the Eagles. All it took was clock management, and they had it in the bag. But it's not over until the refs say it's over. With 2 minutes and 21 seconds, Philadelphia scored. Now 2 minutes is pretty good time in football, and it was up to the Patriots to win. Something that seemed pretty manageable, unfortunately for the Eagles. The Eagles missed their 2 points, meaning that one touchdown from the Patriots would mean their doom. After all this time, the Eagles still were the other ones out from the division. The fans believed in them, the coaches believed in them. It was now time for them to believe in themselves. And suddenly, a miracle occurred. Brady fumbled the ball, giving it to Philadelphia, at the hands of defensive end Chris Long. Someone who, in my opinion, deserves a lot more credit in Phillies fans' hearts. The Eagles didn't manage to get a touchdown, but at least they got a field goal. The score was 41-33. The Patriots could still tie the game with 80 points, and with 1 minute left, it all came for the Eagles defense to hold the Patriots offense for 1 minute. Something a lot of teams weren't able to do before. The last 10 seconds of the game are something that I couldn't be able to describe even if I wanted to, so I'll just let you witness it for yourselves.
Brady under pressure, escapes the sack, launching one for the end zone. It's a jump ball and it's incomplete. And Gran was there. And time runs out.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you. Let the celebration begin.
Late break. Here's I want. Yes. Oh my God!
The long drought is over. The Eagles now united the rest of their rivals in what can only be described as a perfect division. One title for every team. It was finally sunny in Philadelphia, and everyone left happy to live in the memory of fans and viewers as the Eagles who could. Sadly, this might be the last time we see the NFC East come close to a Super Bowl. Two of the teams aren't doing so well, and the other two are really inconsistent, so I hope I bring peace to the fans of the teams in nice memories that will live on forever. NFC East, enjoy your time as the only perfect division, because more teams are hungry for the title. I might be wrong, but bad things happen when you mess with the East.